We are in chapter 11, text 48. O best of Guru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances can I be seen in this form, the material world. Let's read the purport. Divine vision in this connection should be clearly understood. Who can have divine vision? Divine means godly, unless one attains the status of divinity as a demigod. He cannot have divine vision. And what is a demigod? It is stated in the Vedas, Vedic scriptures that those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu are demigods. Vishnu Bhakta Smrato Daiva. Those who are atheistic, that is, who do not believe in Vishnu, or who recognize only the impersonal part of Krishna as the Supreme, cannot have the divine vision. It is not possible to decry Krishna and at the same time have the divine vision. One cannot have the divine vision without becoming divine. In other words, those who have divine vision can also see like Arjuna. And Sanjay had the divine vision. The Bhagavad Gita gives a description of the universal form. Although this description was unknown to everyone before Arjuna, now one can have some idea of the Vishwaroop after this incident. Those who are actually divine can see the universal form of the Lord, but one cannot be divine without being a pure devotee of Krishna. Sorry. The devotees, however, who are actually in the divine nature and who have divine vision, are not very much interested in seeing the universal form of the Lord. As described in the previous verse, Arjuna desired to see the four-handed form of Lord Krishna as Vishnu, and he was actually afraid of the universal form. In this verse, there are some significant words, just like Veda Yagna Dhyaya, which refers to studying Vedic literature and the subject matter of sacrificial regulations. Veda refers to all kinds of Vedic literature such as the four Vedas, that is Rig, Yajur, Sam and Atharva. The 18 Puranas, the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra. One can study these at home or anywhere else. Similarly, there are sutras, Kalpa Sutras and Mimamsha Sutras for studying the method of sacrifice. Dana refers to charity which is offered to a suitable party, such as those who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. Similarly, pious activities refer to the Agnihotri and the prescribed duties of the different castes. And the voluntary acceptance of some bodily pain is called tapasya. So one can perform all these, can accept bodily penances, give charity, study the Vedas, etc. But unless he is a devotee like Arjuna, it is not possible to see that universal form. Those who are those who are impersonalist are also imagining that they are seeing the universal form of the Lord. But from Bhagavad Gita, we understand that impersonalists are not devotees. Therefore, they are unable to see the universal form of the Lord. There are many persons who create incarnations. They falsely claim an ordinary human to be an incarnation. But this is all foolishness. We should follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, there is no possibility of attaining perfect knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Although Bhagavad Gita is considered the preliminary study of the science of God, still it is so perfect that it enables one to distinguish what is what. It is still a preliminary study, so imagine how much study goes into spiritual studies, right? The followers of the pseudo incarnation may say that they have also seen the transcendental incarnation of God, the universal form, but that is unacceptable because it is clearly stated here that unless one becomes a devotee of Krishna, one cannot see the universal form of God. So one first of all has to become a pure devotee of Krishna. Then he can claim that he can show the universal form of what he has seen. A devotee of Krishna cannot accept false incarnations or followers of false incarnations. Let's move to text 49. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. So now God is going to show him the form that Arjuna has requested. Let's read the purport. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was worried about killing Bhishma and Drona, his worshipful father and master. But Krishna said that he need not be afraid of killing his grandfather. When the sons of Dhritarashtra tried to disrobe Draupadi in the assembly of the Kurus, Bhishma and Drona were silent, and for such negligence of duty, they should be killed. Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna just to show him that these people were already killed for their unlawful action. That scene was shown to Arjuna because devotees are always peaceful and they cannot perform such horrible actions. The purpose of the revelation of the universal form was shown, and now Arjuna wanted to see the four-armed form, and Krishna showed it. A devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. Either a devotee wants to offer his worshipful feelings, or he wants to see the two-handed Krishna form so that he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of God. Yes. So when we see the universal form of Krishna, we cannot actually relate to him. We cannot pray to him, talk to him because it is so like it is such a form. But when we have Krishna's form in Vishnu avatar or in a proper human or in a personality, then we are able to reciprocate the feelings, the loving feelings, right? Text 50. Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. Let's read purport. When Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayan. But when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjuna was not interested in seeing a four-handed form. But since Arjuna asked to see this four-handed form, Krishna also showed him this form again. and then showed himself in his two-handed form. The word Saumya Vapu is very significant. Saumya Vapu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form. And because Krishna is the director of the universe, he just banished the fear of Arjuna, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita 5.38, it is stated, Premananja Churita Bhakti Vilocha Nena. Only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Sri Krishna. Let's move to 51. when, when Arjun thus saw Krishna in his universal form, he said, O Janardana, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind and I am restored to my original nature. Yes. Let's read the purport. Here the words Manusham Rupam clearly indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be originally two-handed. Those who decide Krishna as if he were an ordinary person are shown here to be ignorant of his divine nature. Yes, if Krishna is like an ordinary human being, then how is it possible for him to show the universal form and again to show the four-handed Narayan form? So it is very clearly stated in Bhagavad Geeta that one who thinks that Krishna is an ordinary man, then and who misguides the reader by claiming that it is the impersonal Brahman within Krishna speaking is doing the greatest injustice. Krishna has actually shown his universal form and his four-handed Vishnu form. So how can he be an ordinary human being? A pure devotee is not confused by misguiding commentaries on Bhagavad Gita because he knows what is what. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun. They do not require lamplight from foolish commentators. Yes. 52. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjun, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. Let's read the purport. In the 48th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded revealing his universal form and informed Arjun that this form is not possible to be seen by so many pious activities, sacrifices, etc. Now here the word Sudur is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a little tinge of devotional service to various activities like penances, Vedic study, and philosophical speculation. It may be also possible, but without a tinge of bhakti, one cannot see. That has already been explained. Still, beyond that universal form, the form of Krishna with two hands is still more difficult to see, even for demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. They desire to see him, and we have evidence in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother Devaki, all the demigods from heaven came to see the marvel of Krishna, and they, they offered nice prayers to Lord, although he was not at the time visible to them. They waited to see him. A foolish person may deride him, thinking him an ordinary person, and may offer respect not to him, but to the impersonal something within him. But these are all nonsensical postures. Krishna, in his two-armed form, is actually desired to be seen by demigods like Brahma and Shiva. In Bhagavad Gita 9.11, it is also confirmed Avajnanati Mama Mudha Manushim Tanum Ashritam. He is not visible to the foolish person who deride him. Krishna's body, as confirmed by Brahma Samhita, or confirmed by him, Krishna himself in Bhagavad Geeta, is completely spiritual and full of bliss and eternality. His body is never like a material body. But for some who make a study of Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita or similar Vedic scriptures, Krishna is a problem. For one using a material process, Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and very learned philosopher, but he is an ordinary man. And even though he was so powerful, he had to accept a ordinary body. Ultimately, they think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that from his impersonal feature, he assumed a personal feature attached to a material nature. And this is a materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. Another calculation is speculative. Those who are in search of knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Supreme. So they are distinguishing that universal form is different. That is the main, and Krishna is different. There's something that the universal form of Krishna, which was manifested to Arjun, is more important than his personal form. They also think that the impersonal Brahma staying within the heart of Krishna did this to Krishna. It was not Krishna who converted himself. Okay. According to them, the personal form of the Supreme is something imaginary. They believe that in the ultimate issue, the absolute truth is not a person, but the transcendental process is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, to hear about Krishna from authorities. That is the actual Vedic process. And those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. As we have several times discussed, Krishna is covered by his Yog Maya potency. He is not to be seen or revealed to anyone and everyone. Yes, he wanted to cover himself with Yog Maya. Yog means the body Maya, because if everybody would have known that he is Krishna and he is God, then he would not have been able to perform the activities that he had decided to perform on earth, right? To kill Kans and, to kill so many asurs, and give them moksha. So that was not possible. So he had to cover himself and he had to make others believe that he is an ordinary man, right? Only by one to whom he reveals himself can he be seen. It was only in his power to show himself to anyone. So this is confirmed in the Vedic literature. For one who is a surrendered soul, the absolute truth can actually be understood. The transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. Such a revelation is not possible even for the demigods. Therefore, it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna, and the advanced demigods are always in hope of seeing Krishna in his two-handed form. The conclusion is that although to see the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for for anyone and everyone, it is more difficult to understand his personal form as Shyam Sundara. Yes. It's even if we see it, it's difficult to comprehend, difficult to understand his form. 53. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. Let's read the purport. Krishna first appeared before his parents Devaki and Vasudeva in four-handed form, and then he transformed himself into two-handed form. This mystery is very difficult to understand for those who are atheists or who are devoid of devotional service. For scholars who have simply studied Vedic literature by way of grammatical knowledge or mere academic qualification, Krishna is not possible to understand. Nor is he to be understood by persons who officially go to temple to offer worship. They make their visit, but they cannot understand Krishna as he is. Krishna can be understood only through the path of devotional service, as explained by Krishna himself in the next verse. Let's move to text 54, where he is describing himself. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way you can enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Let's read the purport. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in this verse so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process will know that they are simply wasting their time. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in a four-handed form and at once changed himself into a two-handed form. These things are very difficult to understand by study of the Vedas or by philosophical speculation. Therefore, it is clearly stated that no one can see him or enter into understanding of these matters. So, when you study Vedas, the Vedas describe how the material elements can have the power to change. There is some science, some chemical that we understand from Vedic literature. But when we understand that science, we cannot relate it with what Krishna did. It's very difficult to conclude it. Like suppose you have some theory and you're trying with by use of that theory you are trying to conclude why apple fell down from the tree. So it's difficult to understand by using a theory. But God knows what He's done and He knows how it was done. How it is done, He knows that. That knowledge we cannot comprehend by just reading Vedas, right? Vedic literature. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literature. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. For example, to undergo serious penances, one may observe fasting on Janmashtami, the day on which Krishna appeared, and on the 2 days of Ekadashi, the 11th day after the new moon, and the 11th day after the full moon. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in his devotional service to spread the Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness throughout the world. His Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as the most munificent man of charity because love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. So if one gives some amount of his money to persons involved in distributing Krishna consciousness, that charity given to spread Krishna consciousness is the greatest charity in the world. And if one worships as prescribed in the temples in India, there is always some statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. That is a chance to progress by offering worship and respect to the Supreme Personality of God. For the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is essential, and this is confirmed in the Vedic literature, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.23. Yasya deve para bhaktir, yatha deve tatha gurav, tasya tasye tasyete tasyaite kathita hi artha prakashante mahatmana. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master in whom he has similar unflinching faith can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. One cannot understand Krishna by mental speculation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word tu is specifically used here to indicate that no other process can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. The personal forms of Krishna, the two-handed form and the four-handed, are described as Sudurdarshan, very difficult to see. They are completely difficult from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. The four-handed form of Narayan and the two-handed form of Krishna are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. Yes. The words Tvad Aniyana, Aniyane, and Anyane Na Drashta Purvam, text 47, state that before Arjuna no one had seen that universal form. Also, they suggest that amongst the devotees there was no necessity of showing it. That form was exhibited by Krishna at the request of Arjuna, so that in the future, when one represents himself as the incarnation of God, people can ask to see his universal form. Yes. So in those days, or like I would say 20,000 years ago, there were many people who would claim that they are incarnation of God. The word na, used repeatedly in the previous verse, indicates that one should not be very much proud of such credentials as an academic education in Vedic literature. One must take to the devotional service of Krishna. Only then one can attempt to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayan and then to his own natural form of his of two hands. This indicates that four-handed forms and other forms mentioned in Vedic literature are all emanations of the original two-handed Krishna. He is the original of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms. What to speak of the impersonal conception? As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean from those breathing so many innumerable universes, are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord, as stated in the Brahma Samhita 5.48. Yasyaika nishvasita kalam athavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagat anand jagadanna jagadanda sorry jagadanda natha vishnur mahan sa iha yasya kala विशेषो विशेषो गोविंदम आदि पुरुषम tam aham bhajami. In quotes, the Mahavishnu, into whom all the innumerable universes enter, and from whom they come forth again simply by his breathing process, is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Therefore, I worship Govinda Krishna, the cause of all causes. Quotes close. Therefore, one should conclusively worship the personal form of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has eternal bliss and knowledge. He is the source of all forms of Vishnu. He is the source of all forms of incarnation. And he is the original Supreme Personality as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. In the Vedic literature, Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.1, the following statements appear. Sachidananda Rupaya Krishnaya Klishta Karine Namo Vedanta Vedyaya Gurave Buddhi Sakshine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Krishna, who has a transcendental form of bliss, eternity, and knowledge. I offer my respect to him because understanding him means understanding the Vedas, and he is therefore the supreme spiritual master. Then it is said, Krishna vai paramam daivetam. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.3 says, Eko Vashi Sarva Gaha Krishna Idyaha. That one Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he is worshipable. Ekopi San Bahuda Yova Bhati. Krishna is one, but he is manifested in unlimited forms and expanded incarnations. Gopal Tapni Upanishad 1.21. The Brahma Samhita 1.5.1 says, Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govindaha Sarva Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, who has a body of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He has no beginning, for he is the beginning of everything. He is the cause of all causes. Quotes close. Elsewhere it is said, Yatra Vatirnam Krishna Khayam Param Brahma Narakriti. The Supreme Absolute Truth is a person. His name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth. Similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find a description of all kinds of incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this list, the name of Krishna also appears. But then it is said that this Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Ete Kamsha Kalaha Punsaha Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. Similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mataha Parataram Nanyat. There is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead Krishna. He also says elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita. So here we are trying to tell every places of Vedic literature where it is stated that this Krishna is the God himself. Is not an incarnation of God. He also says elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Adir Hi Devanam. I am the origin of all the demigods. And after understanding Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, Arjun also confirms this in the following words. Param Brahma, Param Dham, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and that you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original is the Krishna form. The universal form, with its thousands and thousands of heads and hands, is manifest just to draw the attention of those who have no love for God. It is not God's original form. Yes. So God's original form is Krishna, but God's universal form is what we saw, which is thousands of mouths and thousands of hands in it. Because God lies in each and every living being. So all living beings were displayed at once. And imagine so many millions of living beings displayed together, doing something or the other. The universal form is not attractive for pure devotees who are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationships. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjun, who was so intimately related with Krishna in friendship, this form of the universal manifestation was not pleasing, rather it was fearful. Arjun, who was a constant companion of Krishna's, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was not captivated by the universal form. This form may seem wonderful to persons who are involved in elevating themselves by fruitive activities. But to persons who are engaged in devotional service, the two-handed form of Krishna is the most dear. Yes. Then you can exchange that universal feeling, that loving feeling, that transcendental relationships you can maintain with such a form. Right? So let's end here with Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Let's do some Radha Jap. Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha, Radha, Shri Radha.